Hey everybody, about 2 weeks ago, Atlus brought me out to New York City to experience Metaphor ReFantazio. They gave me this book straight from the game, and I'll show you what's inside a little later on, but ever since then, I've been unable to actually tell anyone about my time with the game. I've had time now to let my thoughts simmer again and gain some perspective, and now I can speak freely about the game. Atlus has not seen this video, and my thoughts are my own. So during the event, I got to play for a few hours, about 2.5 hours, but so far, Metaphor ReFantazio feels like something very special. The opening cinematic makes it abundantly clear that the teen-friendly persona this is not, showing an incapacitated king getting brutally murdered, setting events in motion that I've yet to fully grasp, but from what I've seen in trailers and other media, leads to a race to become the new king. A day in the life of a typical high school student, this is certainly not. I should make something abundantly clear at the beginning of this video though, and that's while I have played the first few hours of the game, I haven't been watching every single trailer, reviewing every single article, or dissecting every single interview. I went into this video and this whole event almost blind, so there's a good chance you may know more details about certain systems in the game than I do. I tried to go in hyped responsibly for the game so as not to cloud my judgment or skew any of my perceptions. The world introduced is mostly populated with horned and pointy-eared individuals, where the people without those pointed ears and horns are a rarity, the Elda. Our 18-year-old protagonist, who I named Azure, is one such Elda and is treated with disdain by society at large, and it seems like the Elda may be the bottom rung. You do have a fairy-like companion named Gallica who tries her best to stay out of sight while keeping you on track for your mission. What this mission is, though, I'll leave that for you to discover. But this outsider perspective, learning about the city as he goes, is both believable and useful for helping convey the player to a brand new world for the very first time. So far, the characters introduced have been very interesting, and I suspect that there's going to be an ocean of depth to uncover as the stories progress. After all, this game does seem to feature a character development feature not entirely unlike Persona's social links, which have always proven to be a huge source of incredible character development and storytelling that always ensures our favorite characters get a chance to really shine. I very much appreciate that the protagonist in this title is not a silent one and responds to questions from others using the selections that I indicate. This feels like a natural progression forward away from the silent protagonists of old, and I hope to see this trend continue in other titles from Atlus in the future, and other developers for that matter. What isn't really clear to me in the first few hours is if and how the social calendar system from Persona titles is present. Am I going to have to make difficult decisions about whom I spend my time with in order to see their stories play out? Almost assuredly so. In fact, this is probably one of those things that several people know more about than I do. The point being, though, that if it does eventually come down to social calendar management, that doesn't really come into play too early on into the game. What I will absolutely praise Metaphor ReFantazio for is how good that first couple of hours is. The first 30 minutes are definitely centered around world building, introducing you to this universe and its rules. It plops you, a level 1 character, down into a field of monsters that can and will kill you if you don't prioritize self-preservation. But it doesn't really feel like long at all until you and your first companion are conscripted and making your way through a fort under siege by a human. My friends Dreamcast Guy, Lady Pelvic, and I have a few theories about what these humans actually are, but I won't get into that here. As a side note, getting to hang out and getting to know Dreamcast Guy, Lady Pelvic, and Yarley over the course of a couple of evenings in New York was just the icing on this incredible overall experience. This wasn't a trip that I expected to be able to establish and strengthen bonds of my own, but it was a welcome surprise. So please go check out these fine people and watch their videos of Metaphor ReFantazio, because I'm certain they've caught on stuff that I missed and may have different opinions about the game. The combat of Metaphor ReFantazio really sets itself apart from titles in the Mega 10 universes that I've played, and there are two combat systems here at play. One is the action-based and takes place during the exploration, and then the other is turn-based that initiates once you've completed combos or have been hit by an enemy while out on the field. Completing a combo outside of combat allows you to stun enemies at the beginning of the turn-based combat, which in turn helps you gain the upper hand early on, but the opposite is also true. What I also really like is that if you do attack enemies that are weaker than you, there's a chance you can just kill them outright and gain the experience points. Kind of like, reminds me a little bit of Earthbound, and I really appreciate that. The mechanics of turn-based combat, I think, will feel very familiar to players of SMT with its press turn system. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, after all. But there's also a good deal of character customization at play here. You don't recruit demons or personas to fight alongside you in this game, but instead you can recruit people to join your party. These people, including the protagonist, can be customized by assigning them different archetypes. Stroll, your first companion, joins the party as a warrior archetype, but that can be changed over to a seeker archetype to gain similar sets of possible skills as the protagonist. Or alternatively, the protagonist can be changed to a warrior archetype. These archetypes do appear to function similarly to equipping different kinds of personas, but because you can change all of the user archetypes, it feels more like a throwback to old school Persona 1 and 2 days, which were some of my favorites. Each archetype has its own skill tree, and I can already tell that there's going to be a lot of depth to this system and possibly some tinkering to your party loadouts to better handle different and higher difficulty bosses. Speaking of difficulty, there are a set of difficulty modes available from the start, along with audio options, turning subtitles on and off, auto-advancing text, and so on. Playing the game on standard difficulty mode for me was a bit of a breeze, which is probably to be expected for a seasoned RPG veteran, so it's nice to know that I'll be able to crank up the heat when it comes to actually playing the full game for real. But it's also really nice that they even have a storyteller mode for newcomers. And if you're a beginner to the JRPG genre, be sure to check out my top 10 list of beginner-friendly JRPGs over here. For the last 2 weeks, I haven't been able to get ReFantazio out of my mind. The world that it's building up has raised so many questions. The politics of the world already feel like the protagonist feels like such a small piece of a very big world, and in turn, a small piece of the larger machinations of nations. The world has been built not only visually and also musically, but also the way the lore is being built is informing the gameplay as well, reinforcing the immersion into this world that has drawn me into it. Metaphor ReFantazio is not the next SMT. It's not the next Persona. This is, I think, the first Metaphor. A whole new third pillar for Atlus. I know that I'm only a couple of hours into this game, but if the rest of the game is anything like this, I can tell you this is gonna be something special. And, I was gonna show you what's inside the book. They gave us all this book, and inside I have a couple of autographs from some of the developers here, including Katsuhara Hashino, the director of the game, and Shigenori Soejima. I hope I'm saying that correctly, the character designer. I love this. I'm just gonna cherish this book. This book is within the game, by the way. It's got some special significance. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, everyone.